Welcome to the Lube Shuttle video series. Today we are talking about Lube-Jet ECO, and this is a spray greaser that we use a Lube Shuttle threading cartridge in, and we're able to apply grease without aerosol, without any thinners or detergents. We're just using compressed air. So let's see how this works. Inside here we just got a Lube Shuttle cartridge. The head on here, we're going to thread in that Lube Shuttle cartridge. And then we're going to thread on this outer cylinder here. And it's important to run this outer cylinder tight on the Lube-Jet ECO because there's a seal up here. And we run air into this bottom cylinder, and we actually use compressed air to push the grease out of the spray head. So now what's very unique about the Lube-Jet ECO is normally when you're applying lubricant to a slideway or a boom on a crane or extending jib or lift, you need to use an aerosol can, an aerosol lubricant, or a paint roller or a paintbrush or something like that where you're just kind of slopping it on. And one, it's inefficient. You waste a lot of grease that way, and with aerosol cans you go through a lot of them, and they're considered hazardous for the environment, and they don't have a lot of actual lubricant in them, and you're using a lot of times something to thin out that lubricant to get it to spray out of that aerosol can. Now the unique thing with Lube-Jet ECO is we're not using anything to change the composition of the grease in here. So you can put any grease in here, and there's no detergent, there's nothing that's going to thin that grease out to make it to be able to be sprayed. All we're going to use is compressed air. Now, so what that kind of equates to is when we get this, I'll spray it back on this board here so we can see how it works, but we're not changing the property of that grease. It's going to be just as tacky over there as it is in this grease gun, or it is in this tube. None of that is going to change. Now the Lube-Jet ECO also allows us to use different spray patterns. So we can spray a vertical pattern or a horizontal pattern, or we can spray a very precise dot of grease, if you will. And I'm going to go over that right now. So we're going to plug this in. You're going to hear the air leaking out, just a little bypass valve on here. And we're going to start with just a simple pattern. So you can see here we sprayed just a vertical pattern, and now what we can do is narrow that up, and that's by adjusting this dial on the side here. Now we're going to spray a very precise point, and you can put as much on as you want, and if you wanted to, you can go back and spray that vertical pattern as well. Now you can change this vertical pattern to a horizontal pattern by changing the orientation of this spray head. So normally you'd use the spanner wrench that came with this to make this tight, but for the purpose of this video I just had it hand tight on here. So now instead of spraying a vertical pattern, we're going to be spraying a horizontal pattern. And that was our precise load. And now here is our fanned out version. So it's very easy, very precise to do that back and forth. And you can also adjust the amount of grease we're spraying and the amount of air. So we can actually turn this air down, and what's going to happen is it's going to be less of a direct area, and it's going to be more of just kind of a volume of grease coming out. If we turn that down even more, it's going to narrow up that pattern even more. You can adjust the amount of grease that's being sprayed as well through this adjustment here. It's a little bit hard to show in a video like this. but it is very efficient and very effective. I mean, you can clearly see where the grease is being applied. You're getting a nice uniform pattern, and you can choose if you're going to spot spray. Sometimes they'll spot spray on large open gears and specific points that they want, or like if you're doing a large crane boom, you can use a pattern like this or a vertical pattern to spray that out and you know, get that full coverage. So I do want to show you that, you know, we're not changing anything with the grease. It's just as tacky and as stringy as it would be coming out of that tube. And that's one of the most important things to remember. And I mean, obviously the Lube-Jet ECO is very beneficial in a case of ease of application, but it's also extremely beneficial because you're not diluting the lubricant you want on that boom or that open gear or open slideway. You are getting the exact same product you would get out of a standard tube of grease. You just got a very easy way to apply it. And like I said, that's one of the downfalls of using aerosol lubricants. The chemistry of them are altered in a way to allow them to be sprayed out of a can. And in doing so, a lot of times you lose some of the best properties of that original lubricant. So that is the over-under on the Lube-Jet ECO.